you need to check your investments, like right now, for this week's topic. Or if you're new to investing and haven't started yet, the universe has smiled upon you, for this is where you need to start. Why? Because unless you just happen to love the taste of Alpo over Chik-Fil-A, of Blue Wilderness over Wingstop, of Fancy Feast over In-N-Out or Whataburger, for Friskies over Benihana, or for Purina over Panera, this is the video that will save you from eating cat food in your 70s and 80s. Greetings friends, I'm Chris. Welcome to this week's video. I'm sure glad to have you here. Yes, this week's video is on retirement savings and investing. Before you tune out, I know you're too young, you're too old, you can't afford to right now. Or maybe when you get old, you love the idea of not only losing your eyesight and your hearing and your bladder control, but all your money too. Consider this. This is the most important investing you will ever do. The problem is 42% of America isn't putting a dime away for it. Only 40% of people have spent time working on a retirement plan. This is even though 60% of them have said that they've lost sleep worrying about retirement, and 78% have said that they're worried or extremely worried about not having enough money in retirement. Almost half of people have less than $10,000 saved. About 33% have less than $5,000 saved. More than half of people think that Social Security will be their retirement account. Is that a gray hair? I think I'm getting stressed for them. And most learn about this whole topic from word of mouth, not from fact-based sources. This advice applies to you, whether you're a doctor or a fast food worker, whether you're a gas station attendant or a business owner, whether you're a senior citizen or a millennial. I see you millennials. I also see your household average income is $55,000 a year. So you can afford to do this too if you stop spending on stuff that's less important. Speaking of saying you can't afford it, I understand this. I understand it now, and I understood it back when I was only making $25,000 a year. I really understood it then. But I still did it. 96% of people making $50,000 or under are not maxing out their 401k. Look, I could have said this too, especially like I told you when I was making $25,000 a year. And I could have blown the money on junk that I wouldn't have still today. The truth is, you can't afford not to. Compounding interest is something you don't want to miss out on. And the sooner you put in, the better. As an example, and if you're not familiar with compounding interest, it basically works like this. It says that it's better to put a little in early than a lot later, because this gives it time to grow and compound, and money starts earning money. It's way better to actually put in a tiny amount earlier in life than it is to put in a lot later in life. To prove this, let's use an example from Ramit Sethi's book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. And I'll probably be doing a review on this book later on down the road in a video. If Smart Sally and Dumb Dan both put $200 per month into a retirement account, with Dan contributing for 20 years from the age of 45 to 65, and Sally contributing for 10 years from the age of 35 to 45 only, and then stopping, Sally's actually going to come out way ahead with $62,880 more dollars when they both hit 65 years old. This is even though she only contributed for 10 years and Dan did it for 20 years. This is the magic of compounding interest and the reason that you need to act today after this video. The average return for the S&P 500 is 10%. It's 11% for the stock market in this century. So if you take out 2 to 3% per year on average for inflation, most experts agree that you can calculate 7 to 8% is what your average return should be. Look, I love Robinhood too. I love buying and selling stocks, especially dividend payers. And we'll get to a video on all that later on, but that's like level 3. We're on level 1 right now. We have to start on level 1. You have to crawl before you can walk. Plus, if we're super honest, studies show that retirement investing is way more important. So, how does your retirement savings currently look? if you even have one. Whether you do have one or you're going to start one right after this video, here are some basic types and some things to consider. The first retirement plan we're going to talk about is a pension. These are getting to be more and more rare, so if you have one, good for you. For those that are unfamiliar, these are payments that people are going to get in retirement. They're usually based on years of service, and the contributions for them usually came from the employer and or the employee. If you have a choice, you usually don't, but if you have a choice, max what you can. If you have a pension, next you're going to crush a Roth IRA, and after that, a taxable account, both of which we'll talk about in a second. The next plan we're going to talk about is the 401k. For those who aren't familiar, it's an employer-sponsored retirement plan that employees can contribute to. It's found in subsection 401k of the IRS code, hence the name. Many times, these offer an employer match. What that means is if you put 5% of your salary towards this, your employer might say, hey, you know what? We'll put 5% of your salary towards it as well. This is free money. These are funded with pre-tax dollars. What this means is that you will have to pay taxes on it later in retirement, but it does reduce your adjusted gross income now, which should save you money on taxes every year. So if you have a 401k, what is your match amount that your employer will do? And are you maxing out what you need to do to receive that full match? This is mind-blowing, but Americans are leaving $24 billion per year in unclaimed matches on the table. That's an average of $1,336 per person that has a 401k, which would lead to over $43,000 if compounded over 20 years. Please don't leave free money on the table. The current contribution limit for 2020, or the max that you can put in, is $19,500. It's $26,000 if you're over 50 because you get to catch up and have a little bit more put in. So if you're under 50 and you want to break this down per paycheck, if you're paid every 2 weeks, that's about $750 per check. I say that to say this. If you are going to max your 401k out, and I have faith you will, if not today, one day soon, then make sure that you're not contributing too much where you miss out on the match money. Typically this happens at the end of the year. There are required minimum distributions at age 72. What this means is you have to start pulling the money when you're 72 years old. Also, if you pull the money out before 59 and a half, there's penalties. The next one we're going to talk about is the Roth IRA. This one's great. You've probably heard of it. It's almost universally applicable, so chances are it's probably going to work for you. If you do have a 401k, this is a great second investment vehicle to have. So after you contribute what you need to do to receive the full match with your 401k, I would recommend fully funding a Roth IRA, and then with whatever money you have left over, going back and maxing out the 401k. For those that are unfamiliar with this, you contribute with pre-tax dollars. The beautiful thing about this is all the money that you contribute, all the interest you earn, even the compounding interest, is all stuff that you're going to get to pull in retirement tax-free. You don't have to worry about pulling taxes out at that point. This really helps with retirement planning purposes. It also helps if you think you might be in a higher tax bracket when you retire, or if you think that taxes are going to continue to rise or increase over time. So are you maxing out a Roth IRA yet? The maximum amount for 2020 is $6,000 per year if you're under 50, or $7,000 a year if you're 50 or older as a catch-up. If you're paid every 2 weeks, to hit this maximum, that would be about $230 per paycheck. Or if you broke it down by day over that 14-day period for those 2 weeks, it'd be about $16.50 a day. You can also contribute to a Roth IRA all the way up until tax day of the next year. So for example, you could contribute for 2020 all the way up until April 15th of 2021. There are income limits on this, so if you make more than $124,000 as a single person or $196,000 as a married couple, you can't contribute to the Roth IRA. However, there is ways around this. One's called the backdoor Roth, and I might do a video on that coming up. And the last plan we're going to talk about is the individual taxable account. If you're not familiar, not to oversimplify it, but I kind of look at this one as like a hybrid. So if a savings account and a stock investing account had a cute little baby money tree. With an individual taxable account, there are taxes due every year from investment income, but you can cash out at any time. You can pull money out. You don't have to be 59 and a half like you would have to be with the 401k. Also, there's no required minimum distribution with one of these like there is with the 401k, where you have to start taking it at 72. You can use the money for any reason. You could use it to buy a house, to get married, whatever you want. That's why I called it a hybrid between a savings account and a stock investing account. This is perfect for after you max your 401k and a Roth IRA. Also, as far as how much you can put in, there's no restrictions. Next, I want to briefly touch on the concept of the 4% rule. This is what experts generally say is the golden number that you should pull each year in retirement from your retirement savings. So step one is to determine how much you think you're going to need each year to live off of in retirement. Then you'll figure out how much of this is going to have to come from your retirement savings account. Divide this number by 0.04, and the number on the calculator there is the number that you're going to need to have saved by your retirement day in order for the 4% rule to work for you. For example, let's say in retirement, on top of Social Security, if it's even around, and any other income streams, you decide you want to pull $20,000 per year out of your retirement account. What you would do is on a calculator, take $20,000 and then divide that by 0.04. In this scenario, that would lead to $500,000. So that's the amount that you would have to have in your account when you retire in order to comply with the 4% retirement rule. This might seem like an incredibly high number, but I assure you, it is doable. Even if you're starting at 40 years old and you put in $500 a month until you retire at 67, you're going to have over $546,500 at 8% return. Now, I know you might be saying, Chris, you said this was easily doable. I can't put $500 a month into account. Well, listen, guys, the average new car payment in the United States is over $530. Is that new car worth over $500,000 for you later and for your financial security? So, what individual stocks should you be looking at to make your retirement dreams come true? None! And don't you dare mention that again. Listen, like I mentioned earlier, I love stocks. I love Robinhood too, but it's hard to pick a winner, especially repeatedly. Statistics show that over 95% of finance professionals fail to beat the market. Ugh, you had one job, bro. Can you imagine if other jobs did this? What if a surgeon failed to meet average performance 95% of the time? What if an airline pilot failed to meet average performance 95% of the time? I'm not sure if I'd rather get rich or have emergency surgery from that surgeon while flying on an airplane over an ocean with that pilot. Tough choices. So hopefully that makes the point that individual stocks are not the answer. Diversification is the key. You might not have the time to find 100 stocks to buy and diversify. You also might not have the time to stay up day and night doing the research that's needed on stocks to rebalance your portfolio at regular intervals. The good news is you don't need to. You can set it and forget it.
You followed all the instructional material, you just...
The most recommended ones that I would give you are things like Vanguard. Vanguard's great. The fees are incredibly low compared to competitors. You can do different types of funds, index funds, mutual funds, or whatever you feel the most comfortable with. And then if you don't want to do it, you can even do a Vanguard Target Retirement Fund in which they do all the work for you. I'll touch on Wealthfront really quick. Again, there'll be another video that covers that sort of thing, but it's a robo-advisor, meaning they do all the work for you. I personally use them. They're not paying me for this, but I use them. My wife uses them. It's worked out great for us. Again, it's all about setting it and forgetting it.
You follow all instructions and you set and forget.
So to be clear, this money's going to go in there and it's not going to come out. You won't touch it. This is the forget it part of set it and forget it. Nearly 30% of people withdraw from their retirement when times get tough. I think you could make a great argument that right now, with everything going on, that times are tough for a lot of people. Friends, I'll say this. Please remember, this is money for your future. So let me think about it. No! Some people want to pull money out when the market's dropping or when the market's like a roller coaster. I can understand this, but I actually really like Dave Ramsey's advice on this. He says nobody gets hurt on a roller coaster if they don't get off in the middle. Remember, this is what's going to keep you from eating cat food in your 70s and 80s. Plus, there's big penalties with some of these, like 10% if you're under 59 and a half and do a withdrawal, or income taxes. You don't want to have to pay those. I don't want to see you have to pay those. If you're thinking about making a withdrawal from your retirement account, maybe God led you to this video just to hear this. Don't do it. So how much should you put in and contribute for your retirement savings? The answer is as much as possible. I get it might be hard to start giving 5%, 10%, or even 15% of your salary. 15% should be your minimum goal, and only 1 in 10 Americans, or 10%, are hitting that. So how do you put money in and fund this retirement account? Well, if you have a 401k, you're going to do automatic withdrawals from your paycheck right through your employer. This helps you never see it. It's easier that way. You can't get tempted and buy a dumb product like these. If you can't do automatic withdrawals through your employer, or if you exceed that, you're going to contribute every time you get paid. There's this awesome thing called dollar cost averaging. It's better for you to contribute regularly throughout the year on a set schedule than it would be to do one lump sum throughout the year. Can I prove that? I'm glad you asked. Fact. By missing out on even 10 of the best trading days over a 20-year period, an investor could see their returns cut in half. Keep in mind, patience is a virtue. They say that for a reason. It's gonna take time for you to see a return on this investment. Probably at least a year, if not more. A year after starting this, if you look at your account and you see you're up 8%, it's gonna get incrementally easier. But give it a little more time than that even. As compounding starts, compounding, all of a sudden, boom, it becomes easier and easier. I promise you, it'll be worth it in the end. If you have any further questions, please buy my $137 million online program or my $300 million coaching program. Just kidding. I'll never charge you for advice. Seeing you financially well off is my mission. And to me personally, it would be wrong for me to charge you for advice that could change your life. And maybe even change the lives of those coming in your family tree down the road. The only thing I will ask is hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, maybe leave some comments below. Are you on track for retirement? Have you not started yet? What's the amount that you want to have the day you retire saved up? Things of that nature. It'd be great to hear from you. Don't put this off. Don't say you're going to start in 5 minutes or a month or a year or 10 years after you settle down. Start when this video ends. Unless you're going to watch this video again. Then watch it like 14 more times for the YouTube algorithm and then go invest. Instead of taking this advice and setting themselves up financially, or maybe even having to sacrifice a little bit now for later, some people, sadly, just plan on working well into retirement. By 2026, 23.3% of the workforce is going to be people 55 or older. 71% of people say they plan to work in retirement for pay. My friends, doesn't this defeat the purpose? Retirement is the time to live your dreams. Your biggest decision should be what island do you want the yacht to go to today? Or which countries you want to fly off to and explore? Or how many of the Disney parks we want to take our kids and grandkids to? Not trying to decide which Velcro shoes to wear to some crappy job. And certainly not eating cat food. Go check your retirement account and contributions. Or open one and start to contribute. Today, right now, you can't afford not to. I truly do want to see your retirement dreams come true, but only you can make it happen. See you next week.